Everyone knows what a monopoly is, but let's give a quick rundown. A monopoly happens when one single company basically controls an entire market with no real competition, and there are no substitutes for that product or service. This lets the company control the supply, but more importantly, the price, without any competitive restrictions at all. This has happened plenty of times. Standard Oil, founded by John D. Rockefeller, controlled most of the oil production, refining, and transportation in the United States. Their dominance was so massive that the federal government eventually broke it up in 1911 under antitrust laws. Technically, they were hogging the whole market, jacking up prices and making it nearly impossible for any small competitor to even get started. A more recent example would be Microsoft. Back in the 1990s, Microsoft was considered a monopoly in the personal computer operating systems market thanks to the famous. Their dominant position allowed them to set unfair conditions in the market, which led to major legal battles over anti-competitive practices. And coincidentally, in the early 2000s, Gates suddenly became a whole lot more benevolent and started donating insane amounts of money to charities and social causes. Real suspicious, but that's for another video. Even though in America, and in a lot of other places, competition is seen as something sacred, and anti-competitive practices are restricted and demonized for killing innovation, worsening services, and showing zero interest in the consumer, some sectors naturally end up concentrated in a single provider. In this video, we're going to see why some industries, without even trying, end up as monopolies. And no, it's not only because humans can be trash or because billionaires get stupidly greedy, at least not in every case. We'll look at the economic factors behind it, plus some examples everyone or nobody knows, along with their effects on the economy, how this impacts you, or how it might even benefit you in some weird way. Natural monopolies. It sounds like some made-up term invented by some rich jerk, but it's actually more logical than it seems. The idea is simple. Sometimes it's cheaper and just more practical for one single company to run a service instead of having many of them. Take electricity, for example. The poles and cables that deliver power work way better if there's just one big shared network instead of a bunch of different ones. Think of it like this. One power pole on your street with several wires connected is part of a huge network carrying electricity from the power plant to your house. You only need one set of poles and cables. If two companies had their own cables, we'd have streets filled with double wiring and extra poles nobody needs. One single company can handle maintenance and take care of the whole structure. It's just the most logical and cheapest option for everyone. In fact, duplicating water or electricity networks wouldn't improve the service at all. It would only make it more expensive. A natural monopoly isn't bad by itself. It's simply the most practical way to deliver a service that requires massive infrastructure to work. Usually, if the government's doing its job, they make sure the company doesn't abuse its position and keeps prices fair. As we saw with electricity, you need insane amounts of money for infrastructure, technology, or research. In the pharmaceutical industry, temporary monopolies basically happen naturally because of the patent system. Developing a drug can cost billions of dollars and take more than a decade of research, clinical trials, and regulatory hoops to jump through. Since very few companies can take on that kind of risk, there's already a massive barrier to entry from day one. When a company finally discovers a new drug, it gets a patent that gives it exclusive rights for around 20 years. This means that even if other companies want to compete, they legally can't make or sell the same medication. The result is a natural but temporary monopoly created not just by the insane scientific and financial difficulty, but also by a legal system designed to let the company make its money back. And yeah, this system does encourage innovation, but it also puts a ton of power in the hands of a few companies and leaves consumers with zero alternatives until the patent expires and generics can finally jump into the game. Let's look at an example. In 2013, the pharmaceutical company Gilead Sciences made a huge breakthrough against hepatitis C, a disease that affects millions. They developed Sovaldi, a pill that promised a cure with success rates above 90%. It was basically a miracle, and Gilead knew it, and the world found out just how well they knew it when they announced the price. A full 12-week treatment cost $84,000. That's $1,000 per pill. This insane price sparked a massive backlash. Patient advocacy groups protested. Governments desperately negotiated huge discounts. And in some countries, patent rights were legally challenged. Gilead's case showed the exact point where a pharmaceutical monopoly can turn a life-saving cure into an unaffordable luxury. Natural monopolies can also pop up because of network effects, which happen when every new user makes a product or service more valuable for everyone else. If a platform has just a few users, it's basically useless. But if millions of people use it, that alone instantly makes it better, more complete, and way more attractive. It's like a snowball that just keeps rolling and growing by itself. A classic example is YouTube. Imagine we're in February 2005, when the platform had just been born. At the beginning, there were only a handful of videos, and almost nobody even knew the site existed. But as each month passed and new users joined, more and more content got uploaded. Cat videos, zoo trips, tutorials, you name it. And here's the key part. Every new user didn't just help YouTube as a company, they also benefited all the previous users because now there were more videos to watch, more creators, more variety, and more interaction. That growth keeps attracting even more people, who then add more content, and the cycle repeats itself. This process explains why platforms like YouTube end up dominating their entire sector without needing to block out competition. Being where everyone already is becomes too convenient to ignore. Network effects basically shove the whole market toward one single platform, which ends up capturing almost all the attention. And this phenomenon isn't just a YouTube thing. It's the standard pattern in social networks, search engines, and video services. In all these cases, the more users join, the more useful the network becomes, and the harder it is for any new competitor to break that virtuous cycle that only helps the biggest player. Let me know what you think. Do you believe there shouldn't be any kind of monopoly, no matter how justified it seems? Drop your thoughts down in the comments.